Welcome to Into the Darkness, where we dive into the most spine-chilling and captivating true crime stories from around the world. Each week, we take you deep into the heart of the darkest mysteries and the most notorious criminals. Our detailed narratives, gripping voiceovers, and vivid visuals will immerse you in the thrilling world of true crime. Subscribe and hit the notification bell to join our community of crime enthusiasts. Get ready to uncover the truth, face the terror, and remember, every story hides a shadow. Now, let's dive into the darkness.
Prisoner's Dilemma, the Dark Bargain. In the dimly lit confines of Eastern State Penitentiary, inmates whisper about the Dark Bargain, an eerie pact that promises freedom at a steep cost. On a frigid winter night in 2002, Lucas "Lucky" Malone, a small-time burglar with a knack for getting caught, faced this chilling choice. After years of confinement, he was desperate to escape the clutches of the prison walls, but the price of early release was a descent into an abyss of chaos and danger within the prison's underbelly. Lucas Malone had always been drawn to the allure of quick money. His slick charm and knack for evasion earned him the nickname Lucky. But luck ran out when he was caught red-handed during a high-stakes heist in Central Florida. Sentenced to a decade in Eastern State, Lucas' once confident demeanor crumbled under the harsh realities of prison life. Eastern State Penitentiary, built in the early 19th century, was infamous for its brutal conditions and unrelenting cold. The stone walls, perpetually damp and chilling, seemed to suck the warmth from any soul who dared to enter. Overcrowding and violence were rampant, and the guards, notoriously corrupt, turned a blind eye to the underground economy that flourished within. It was in this grim setting that Lucas first heard of the Dark Bargain, rumored to be orchestrated by a shadowy figure known only as the Warden. This sinister deal allowed inmates to shorten their sentences. However, the price was a harrowing ordeal in the pit, a section of the prison abandoned by the authorities but ruled by the most ruthless and sadistic inmates. Desperation gnawed at Lucas. With his mother's health deteriorating and a promise to stay clean, he saw the bargain as his only chance to reunite with her. The terms were simple yet terrifying. For every month shaved off his sentence, he had to survive a week in the pit. Lucas agreed, signing his name in blood, a symbolic gesture to seal the deal. His descent into the pit began immediately, and what he encountered there was beyond his worst nightmares. The pit was more than just a physical space. It was a psychological crucible designed to break even the toughest inmates. The darkness was pervasive, with only sporadic flickers of dim, malfunctioning lights casting eerie shadows on the damp, crumbling walls. The air was thick with a stench of sweat, blood, and despair, creating a suffocating atmosphere that seemed to weigh on Lucas's very soul. From the moment he descended into the pit, Lucas was stripped of any semblance of humanity. The guards, mere ghosts in this forsaken place, delivered him to the inmates with a sadistic smirk, knowing the horrors that awaited. Within minutes, he was surrounded by feral eyes and malicious grins, each inmate assessing how best to exploit the newcomer. The brutality began almost immediately. Lucas was ambushed, beaten, and robbed of the few belongings he had. The kings of the pit ruled with iron fists, their loyal followers enforcing their will through constant violence. These self-appointed monarchs were former gang leaders, warlords of the prison who thrived on the chaos and terror they instilled. Lucas's first night was a trial by fire. He was cornered by a group of inmates led by Razor, a man whose name was earned through his penchant for carving up his enemies. Razor and his crew left Lucas battered and bleeding, a warning to any who might challenge their dominance. Survival here meant enduring pain beyond comprehension and maintaining a fragile grip on sanity. Starvation was another weapon wielded by the inmates. Food was scarce, and what little there was had to be fought for. Meals were delivered irregularly, often contaminated or rotten, Lucas learned quickly that hesitation meant going hungry. He became adept at snatching scraps, his instincts honed to razor-sharp precision by hunger. Sleep was a luxury rarely afforded. The constant threat of attack kept Lucas on edge, his eyes heavy with exhaustion but always vigilant. Nights were punctuated by the sounds of screams and violent clashes, as power struggles erupted in the darkness. The flickering lights cast ghostly shadows that danced menacingly, feeding the paranoia that gnawed at his mind. In this hellish environment, Lucas encountered Jackson "Jax" Hayes, a former Marine with a hardened exterior but a flicker of humanity still burning inside. Jax had been in the pit for years, his survival a testament to his resilience and combat training. He saw something in Lucas, perhaps a reflection of the man he once was before the war and betrayal. Jax became Lucas's mentor and protector, teaching him the brutal art of survival. Under Jax's guidance, Lucas learned to fight with a savage efficiency, using every ounce of his strength and every dirty trick he could muster. Jax imparted wisdom born from suffering, emphasizing that trust was a weapon to be wielded cautiously. As days turned into weeks, Lucas's transformation was stark. The man who had entered the pit, desperate and naive, was now a hardened survivor. He bore the physical scars of countless battles, each one a testament to his tenacity. More insidiously, the psychological scars etched deeper, a constant reminder of the brutality he had endured and inflicted. Together, Lucas and Jax navigated the labyrinthine tunnels, uncovering the sinister truth behind the pit. The Warden's psychological experiments were designed to push inmates to their breaking points, observing their descent into madness for his twisted research. Lucas's survival was no longer just about earning his freedom. It became a fight against the inhumanity that permeated Eastern State Penitentiary. The climax of Lucas's ordeal in the pit was a moment of reckoning. He stood at the precipice of his final week, aware that his time there had fundamentally changed him. The insurrection that erupted was a violent crescendo, a culmination of the inmates' pent-up rage and desperation. The pit, once a symbol of his darkest nightmares, became the battleground where Lucas would reclaim his humanity and confront the man behind the suffering. As Lucas fought his way through the chaos, he was no longer just a prisoner seeking freedom. He was a warrior, determined to expose the horrors of the pit and bring justice to those who had suffered. The Warden's downfall was not just a victory for Lucas, but a beacon of hope for every inmate who had been trapped in the darkness. In the aftermath, Lucas emerged from the pit, not unscathed but unbroken. His journey through the abyss had forged a new path, one where redemption and resilience were his guiding stars. The brutality of the pit had stripped him to his core, revealing a strength he never knew he possessed. The climax came when Lucas discovered that his final week in the pit coincided with a planned insurrection. The inmates, fueled by rage and desperation, were plotting to overthrow the prison authorities. The riot erupted in a violent frenzy, and the pit became a battlefield. Lucas and Jax, caught in the maelstrom, fought their way to the Warden's quarters. They confronted him, a man devoid of empathy, driven by a perverse curiosity about human suffering. In a dramatic showdown, Lucas forced the Warden to confess his crimes, broadcasting his confession through the prison's PA system. The insurrection ended with the arrival of state troopers, who quelled the riot and took the Warden into custody. Lucas, Jax, and several others were hailed as heroes for exposing the atrocities within Eastern State. Lucas's sentence was commuted, and he was released, albeit haunted by the memories of the pit. He returned to Central Florida, a changed man determined to rebuild his life and honor the promise he made to his mother. Jax, too, found a measure of peace, using his experiences to advocate for prison reform. Years later, Lucas and Jax's story became a symbol of resilience and the human spirit's ability to endure even the darkest circumstances. Eastern State Penitentiary was eventually shut down, its secrets laid bare for the world to see. The dark bargain was no more, but the scars it left behind would never fade. Lucas Lucky Malone learned that true freedom wasn't about escaping prison walls, but finding redemption within oneself, a lesson etched into the cold, unyielding stone of Eastern State Penitentiary. It's not the darkness that defines us, but how we find the light within.